Hey guys, in this video I'm going to create archlinux bootable USB. I already have the USB here, so let's do that together, shall we? So I'm going to show you how to create archlinux bootable USB in both macOS and Windows 10. So let's start with macOS. So first we need to download the ISO file. We go to download website. You choose the location that closest to you, and then just download the ISO file. So once you have the ISO file downloaded, archlinux website has a very detailed instruction for how you can create the bootable USB in macOS. It's a use dd command. You have to be careful here because dd command gonna run silently and it doesn't ask you for confirmation. So if you make a mistake, you may wipe out your disk. So make sure that you're careful. You should be carefully select the right USB drive to set up. So here, as you can see, I already have a USB with archlinux installed, but I'm going to wipe it out and start from scratch. So here I use a disk util command to list on the disk that I have. Here you can see that my USB is mapped to disk number 2. Based on the size of the disk, I can tell, and also based on the name of the disk, I can tell disk number 2 is the drive that I want to install. Actually not install, but the disk number 2 is my USB. So first you need to unmount the USB disk. You replace the X with the number of the corresponding USB disk. So once you unmount, it's gonna be gone from the file there. You don't see that anymore. And then you run the dd command to install or to set up the USB. As I mentioned earlier, you have to be careful with this step. You have to specify the correct disk number. In my case, it's a disk number 2, but in your case, it might be a different number, so be careful. So command is dd, and then if you specify the path to the ISO file, in my case it's in my downloads folder, and then of equal /dev/r disk, and then specify the number. In my case it's the number 2, and then press enter. Oh, actually you need to run that as sudo. It requires the root permission. Okay, it's done. So as you can see from the screen, the ISO has been successfully written to the USB. But the thing is, once you formatted the USB using DD, the disk will not be readable by macOS anymore. As you can see, macOS complained that the disk you attached was not readable by this computer. Just ignore that. Since the disk is not readable by the computer, you will not see it in Finder either. That's very normal. But if you use disk util, you can see the disk show up though. So next I'm gonna show you how to create archlinux USB in Windows. In Windows, it's a little bit harder, it requires more steps, but it's not too bad, so let's do it. So in archlinux website for Windows, it suggests a couple options for you to create a USB, but I'm gonna go with the option number 3, which is using the Rufus, I don't know if I pronounce the name correctly or not, application to create the USB. So you download the Rufus application and run it. To avoid any potential issue with creating the USB, I normally like to format the USB and install from scratch. That would be better. It's just my personal opinion. So first I run the disk management software to check the number of the USB that I have. So in my case, the USB is assigned to the drive labeled E, and the disk number is number 1. Based on the name and the size of the drive, I can tell that disk number 1 is my USB. So in your case, you have to make sure that you select, or not select, but identify which drive, which disk is your USB, because you don't want to format a wrong drive as a mistake. So once you know the disk drive, I'm gonna run command prompt and I run that as the admin, and I'm gonna use an application called disk part for cleaning up the disk. I find this approach is very simple to do. So in command prompt, what I do here is I run disk part application, and then I run the command list disk. It shows on the disk that running in my computer. And earlier from the disk management application, we already know disk number 1 is my USB. And again, I can confirm by looking at the size of the disk. So then next you need to select that disk. So you use the command select disk number 1 and then run clean. So a little warning here, as you can see, the clean command will not ask for confirmation at all. So be careful that you select the right disk. You don't want to format your disk, the wrong one by mistake though. So as you can see, once I run the clean command from the disk management console view, the full disk is wiped out, and you see the whole disk is or the whole USB is unallocated. So once you have the Rufus application downloaded, it's just a single exe file. You run it, and here you select the device, and in the boot selection you choose the disk or ISO image, and then select navigate to where you downloaded the ISO file and select it. For partition scheme, let's select GPT, the target system UEFI, because that is the system that I'm going to install my archlinux to. Leave the volume label with the default label that Rufus created for you, and then you click start. Over here there are two modes for you to write the USB, the ISO image mode and DD image mode. DD image mode is gonna format the USD similar to what we did in the macOS. According to the what is recommended by Rufus, ISO image mode is suggested and recommended. So let's go with that. Only when we have some problem later on we can go back and format it using DD image. But in my case, ISO image mode works just well, so I'm going to select that. So you just follow instruction and click OK to for Rufus to start writing data to your USB. So now we just wait. Okay, now you have a bootable archlinux USB that you can use to install archlinux in any computer that you like. I hope that you find this video useful. I will see you in next video.